I want to go back to what we talked about initially, and that is just knowing that it's never too late. So think about this. Even if you're in your 40s, even if you're, in your 50s, you have a good 20, maybe even 30 years to save for your retirement. Because if you retire, say if you're 40 and you're going to retire, whether it's at 60, or 65, that's a good 25 years. You can do so much in that time frame. So don't get caught up in thinking that, oh, I'm starting late, because there's so much you can do if you just get started now, and just get started with what you have. But the key is to get started. All right, because we can easily get paralyzed and thinking that, okay, I haven't done what I needed to do, so I don't know what to do, so I'm just not going to do anything.
Yeah.
So again, you have a good 20 to 25 years. And then think about this, you're going to be in retirement for another 20 to 25, maybe even 30 years, depending on the longevity in your family.
Have you ever looked at your retirement account or lack of one and thought, there's no way I can catch up now? If that fear has been sitting quietly in the back of your mind, this episode is for you. Hey, Savage Squad. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Sev Talks Money YouTube and podcast, where we empower women to manage money confidently. Today, we're talking about the quiet fear so many women over 40 carry, the feeling that there's not enough time left to build true financial security. We're going to tackle that fear head on and show you that it's never too late to create a plan that works for your life. My guest is Renee Collins, a CPA and certified financial planner who has spent over 2 decades helping first generation wealth builders align their money with their values, save money, invest wisely, and build lasting wealth with confidence. Renee, welcome to the Dr. Seb Talks Money podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. How are you?
I am doing well. I am excited about this topic because I am in that demographics and I do know that it is never too late to begin again.
Never too late.
That's my
Absolutely.
that's that's my personal motto. So I'm excited about this episode. Okay. So before we dive into the serious stuff, you and I
Hmm.
know that money can be a little bit nerve-wracking for some people. So I like to kick off with a little bit of icebreaker.
Okay.
If you suddenly found $5,000 in unexpected money, no strings attached, what's the very first thing you do with it?
The very first thing that I'm going to do, that's funny because I am a money nerd, true and true. Okay. I'm investing it. I'm being honest. I am. I'm investing it. I am such a money nerd. I like watching my money grow. So what can I tell you?
Yeah, I have been thinking about this one and I do want to travel somewhere because
Hmm.
my plan is to leave the US and either go back to Jamaica
Okay.
or to Panama to live for a little bit because my retirement money needs to go a little bit further. so,
Right. Absolutely. I
so
get
when I
that.
so when I thought about the 5,000, I was like, what would I do with that? I could probably put some of it in investment because I'm like you. I like to see my money grow. I don't like to see it subtracting.
Right.
and
Exactly.
and take some of it maybe to travel.
Hmm.
We'll see. That means we're looking for 5,000. Okay, universe.
I know that's right. Put that energy out there.
Yeah, yes.
Absolutely.
And for everyone who's listening, I want to know what you do. So drop your answer in the comments or send me a DM if you're a little bit scared of putting it in the comments. When we post the podcast, you can put it in the comments there or on YouTube because we'd love to know what you would do to 5,000 if you suddenly had a windfall of 5,000.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's go get into it, Renee. Tell us a little bit about you and the work that you do so our listeners can learn about you and how you may be able, the work you do may
Hmm.
be able to benefit them.
Absolutely. So, I am a certified public accountant, but I'm also certified as a financial planner and also an accredited financial counselor. The work that I do, my company, let me tell you a little bit about my company. So, my company is called Retire Ready, and it is a registered investment advisory company here in Illinois. I live just outside of Chicago in the south suburbs. And my focus is really on working with first generation wealth builders like myself. So that's Generation X in most cases, and helping them to really develop a healthy relationship with their money so that they can save more, so that they can, also invest and then build wealth. So as I'm all about, leaving a legacy, not a liability. So a lot of the work that I do is really around helping my generation to build wealth so that they can retire ready, just like the name says.
Yeah, and I love that. So they leave wealth instead of a liability.
Absolutely.
Yes, because we've heard the horror stories, right? Of people who have gone on and they could have done better in their finances,
Right.
um,
Exactly.
but they didn't. And so the next generation has to start from scratch. And for those of you who are listening, that we don't want that. And this is the work that Renee does, so that the people who inherit from you doesn't
Hmm.
inherit a liability. They inherit something that they can build on for the next generation and
Absolutely.
onwards.
Hmm.
So you work with so many women over 40. What are some of the common fears that they may have shared with you when it comes to money and time running out?
Right. So I think that, there's that moment when, women, and it's not just women. So most of the ladies I work with, they are married, but they have that aha moment. It's something about turning 40 where they have that aha moment where it's like, oh wow, I'm looking and thinking about retirement, and they start to wonder, do I have enough? And
Mm,
then it's always that fear that I'm in my 40s, I haven't been saving the way I feel like I should, and I'm thinking it's too late. So I think that's one of the biggest fear I would say that I see in the clients that I work with, is they really believe like it's too late for me to start saving. And I would say, just like you said, it's never ever too late to get started.
yes, I totally agree. I don't want to share my story because it's all about you today, but I can attest to that. I can attest to that.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we know that sometimes it's not even about the money so much, the number,
Mm-hmm.
it's the emotions behind it. And
Mm-hmm.
there's an emotional toll that comes with someone feeling that they're behind
Mm-hmm.
financially. So, what are some things that women can start to do to maybe shift that mindset
Right.
and,
You
do
know,
what they need to do?
absolutely. So I would say, really, we want to, as you know, before we can make any change, it's going to start with having an awareness, right? So having
Hmm.
an awareness of, what our financial situation looks like. Once we have some awareness and some clarity around it, then we can start to, go ahead and, move forward with a plan. But before we get there, in order for us to make those changes, we definitely have to have that mindset around, okay, it's not too late. Okay, regardless of whatever situation you're in, it's not too late to go ahead and get started. And I think, working with a planner, it's helpful because they can help you to chart out those numbers to get an assessment of where you are today and where you want to be in the future. But we got to get our head wrapped around the mindset piece and understanding that wherever we are, it's not too late. And if we go ahead, take a look at the numbers and start to get an assessment of what our finances look like, we'd be surprised what we can do in a short period of time.
Yes, I totally agree. And another thing too, where a financial planner or any financial professional can help is
Hmm.
they are not emotionally vested in the numbers. Because
Exactly.
when we're tied to it, we want what we want, and we make it happen whether it's right or wrong.
Right.
Whereas a financial professional will come in and have a really good look at the numbers
Right.
and can help you chart and say, yes, you might want to go here, but
Mhm.
think about going this way and
Right.
see the benefits. So
Exactly.
yes.
That's exactly right. They can bring that objective perspective, which is very
Yes.
helpful. Mhm.
Yes, yes. And you've talked also about aligning money with values.
Mhm.
How does that help women make faster, more confident progress? Because I can see that happening in my mind's eye. Once they've
Absolutely.
aligned their values,
Mhm.
then the trajectory becomes, it's clearer in my mind.
It helps you to focus, right? Because we every day we are inundated with so many different messages around buy this, buy that, we're on social
Yes,
media, we're on TikTok, and so we have all of these messages that are coming at us telling us this is what you need to do with your money. And so it's easy to get distracted. But when you have values and you're dialed into your values, when you really know what's important to you, then you can start to shift and focus your money on what's important to you, right? That's where that clarity comes in. When
mhm,
we can start to take our money and say, hey, this is important to me. I want to retire at a certain age. I want to leave a legacy, for my family. When you do that, this is when I'm doing presentations, what I tell, my audience is like, it's like putting these blinders on. Think about, if you look at a horse and they are racing like in the derby or something, right? They put these blinders on so that that horse
yeah,
can stay focused on what's in front of them, because it's easy to get distracted in today's world. But when you
yes.
have those values in place, you're focused.
Yes. And again, I can't say enough how much a financial planner, a financial professional can help bring clarity to those numbers,
Absolutely.
because you can be as focused as you want to be, but if you don't get the help to bring
Mm,
clarity to your numbers, you can be focused on the wrong thing.
there
So,
you go.
yeah,
Very, very true.
yes, yeah. So you do want to, and when you invest in a financial professional, it's an investment. And I use the word invest in
It
a
is.
financial professional, because
Mhm.
it's not an expense.
Right. Right.
It's an investment,
It is an investment. I think
because
that's
it's going to bring
thinking
you
about.
return.
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah,
Peace of
that's right.
mind is going to bring you strategy. It's going to bring you the things that you need to get to the goals that you have in mind.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's been research that shows that the people who work with a planner versus those who do not typically have more clarity of mind over their goals. And
Mhm.
I think there's a certain level of confidence that comes with that too.
Yeah, I believe it. Now, we know there's a lot of misconceptions and myths around money.
Mhm.
What are some that you may have seen about readiness for women 40 plus and over? And I know we talk several times about it's being too late, but what are
Right.
some other ones that you may see around that?
Let me think about that. What are some of the bigger ones? I think the biggest one, of course, is the fear, right? That it is
Mhm,
too late, and then I think the other thing that I would say too, that I find with women, and I don't know if I would say that this is a myth as much as I would say one of a pattern that I see with women a lot oftentimes that I work with them is that they will, invest a little bit more conservatively than the men do. And,
mhm,
and I don't know if that's just, maybe that's a confidence thing. We don't get a lot of financial education around
mhm,
money and investments. And so, I think, we may not feel as certain, with the choices that we're making because, we've been told that, okay, you have to save for your future, but we haven't necessarily been given a roadmap or blueprint on
mhm,
how we do that, right? And so I think, because all of us, men and women, we don't want to make a mistake with our money. And so we will tend to be a little bit more conservative than we should be, And so I think when we can begin to educate ourselves around money and really understand how the market works, that would be helpful and making informed decisions with our money, and how do we invest so that we can retire with, like you said, retire, have that retire readiness
Yes,
and feeling
yes,
confident.
yes. I love it. I love it. And I know that those who are listening can relate to what Renee is sharing.
Mhm.
So, for someone who's listening right now, what is maybe a step that they can take this week
Mhm.
to to they may be feeling completely overwhelmed, they may
Mhm.
not know what to do? What is one first step that they can take?
You know what I would say is that one first step I would say is pull out your bank statements, right? Pull
Mm,
out your bank statements and just take a look at your bank statements so that you can see where your money is going. That would be the first step, because that's, again, that's that awareness. If we want to affect change in our lives, then the first step is going to be awareness. I would recommend just looking at your bank statement to see how much money you have coming in, and then how much money is going out, and where is it going. Okay, and then ask yourself, is this money going, in the direction that is important to me? Is it going in a direction that is going to help me to meet the goals that I say is important?
yes, yes. And that's key, right? The goal
That's,
that I say
I
is
say.
important. Yeah. If I say this thing is important to me, what am I doing to make sure that that's carried out? Am I
Eh,
derailing? Am I, doing something to derail the goal that I say I want to achieve? And
Absolutely,
yes,
absolutely. And again, it goes back to those distractions, right? There's so many different, things that are vying for our attention and our money. So that's why the values are so important, because again, when we know what's important to us, all that
mhm,
other stuff, it's not going to matter as much,
yes,
because you have a plan, you have a vision.
yeah, yes, yes. So I know you mentioned that you've had your own financial missteps. Would you say that that has helped you in the way that you guide others?
Oh, yes, for sure. Because I was a single mom. I raised my son as a single parent. And one of the stories that I share with people often is that when my son was probably about maybe about 7 or 8, I lost my job. And that was so eye-opening. If anyone has ever lost their job, then and you can relate to what it is that I'm saying. And at that time, I mean, I didn't have any other source of income. And I didn't have any savings, didn't have any emergency fund. And after I navigated my way through that, I said I would never, ever put myself in a
Mhm.
situation like that again. And so that has definitely had an impact on, I think one of the reasons why, I do the work that I do, because I've been there. So I know what it feels like to have that stress and to not have a plan, because I didn't have an emergency fund. I didn't have a second source of income. Nobody was coming to save me. So it was a tough time in my life, and I really would not want anybody else to have to go through that. That's why I do the work that I do.
Yes, yes, I love it.
Mhm.
So let's talk to the woman who has already, and men who
Mhm.
have already saved something.
Mhm.
How can they best maximize what they have in the years ahead?
So I think it's really going to be dependent upon the goals, right? So whenever we're talking about investing, before you start investing, you want to make sure that you know what is your long-term objective. What is the
Mhm.
reason that you are investing? Are you investing so that you can buy a home? Are you investing to leave a legacy? Are you investing for retirement? Having an objective for your money, that's going to be the first step, right? And then understanding what your risk tolerance is. The way I define risk tolerance is it's the ability to be able to sleep at night test. That's what I call it, right? Because basically what that means is that if you're invested in the way that the market takes a turn or a dip, and you're having heart palpitations, then we need to do something different, right? so so understanding, your tolerance for risk and how you feel about the stock market is really important. So again, one, understanding what is my goal, what is my objective, why am I investing, and then what is my risk tolerance, and then having a good idea what's the best way for me to meet this objective while also taking the least amount of risk.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm risk averse or what it is, but I don't look at my my 401. I don't look at my statement. I don't look at any of that because I don't need it right now. So
Right, right, right.
so I'm
Exactly.
not going to. The market is down. Okay.
Right, exactly, exactly. And then that becomes more important as you get closer to retirement, then you
Mhm.
want to start taking a look at it and maybe reallocating, some of those resources before, I would say at least good 5 years before you get ready to retire, to start taking a look at that to see where am I, and making sure that you are invested in a way that is not going to have an impact on your retirement should the market, takes a turn.
Yeah, yeah,
Very important.
yes. So I know financial education is important to you. Uh,
Mhm.
how do you think it may help with overcoming that I'm too far behind feeling?
Absolutely. So I think that when you begin to understand how the market works and you understand where you are in terms of, financially, then and you have some sense of just like understanding the investments, understanding your finances, you can begin to, manage your money in a way to help you, achieve your goals. Just as an example, what I'm thinking about is, as you start to think about retirement, some of the things you want to be thinking about are, what does retirement look like to me? That's one of the first questions that I ask clients, And if retirement is 10, 15, 20 years out, most clients, they're not certain. And it's okay. It's hard for us to visualize what the future us or me or whatever is going to look like, right? Because it's so far ahead of us that we're not even thinking about that. Most of us are really just focused on today. So if
Mhm.
we can think about a little bit, get a sense of what we want retirement to look like, that's helpful because we can start to look at our finances. Do we have a home? And if so, do we want to have that mortgage paid off, before retirement? Is it possible? Let's start looking at our debt. And I would definitely recommend that clients, start working their way out of debt if they have credit card debt, right? So, that's one of those areas where, again, we can free up some of that cash flow so that we can start, putting it into either cash, or we may have to shore up investments a little bit, especially if we're getting a late start. So, the financial education piece is really important because we can start to look at our finances from a different perspective, and we can start seeing money as the tool that it is, and as a tool that really helps us to achieve the things that are really important to us. Again, going back to those goals, right? And those values. So when we have that financial education, it helps us to really think through our finances and make informed financial decisions.
Yes, I love that.
Hmm.
So, if you could leave listeners with maybe one mindset shift that
Hmm.
could help to change how they see their financial future,
Hmm.
what would that be?
You said one, I have a lot.
Well, no, that's okay. Go ahead and share. Go ahead
Okay.
and
Well,
share. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but if you have more than that, go
no.
ahead.
So I think this is the main one here, right? Is that what I find with a lot of the people that I work with is that they feel like I need more money, right?
Mhm.
But when we start to dig into, the resources that they have already, what we find is that, we can find the money right there with what they have. This whole idea is, I think some of it is just being in America, and just, living in a culture where, there is never like enough, right?
Mhm.
So I would start with just defining what your enough is. If you can start there and you can find some contentment around that, then you can begin to, again, not chase after everything that you see, but determine, this is what makes me happy. This is my enough. And then from there, you can, achieve a lot of the things that you really want to achieve with the resources that you have now. So I would say, I think I would say that's a big one, is understanding what your enough is. And then I would also probably say something along the lines of that is it's not so much as, how much money you make, and we've all heard this, but as much as how do you manage what you have? How do you
Mm-hmm.
grow what you have? And then how do we protect what we have? Those things I think are really important.
Yes. How you manage it, how you grow it, and how you
How
protect
you
it.
protect it.
'Cause
Absolutely.
sometimes we focus on the manage and the grow and we forget about the protect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yes.
agree.
Yes. So as we get ready to wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to leave with our listeners before we share where they can contact you?
I would say that again, I want to go back to what we talked about initially, and that is just knowing that it's never too late. So think about this. Even if you're in your 40s, even if you're, in your 50s, you have a good 20, maybe even 30 years to save for your retirement. Because if you retire, say if you're 40 and you're going to retire, whether it's at 60, or 65, that's a good 25 years. You can do so much in that time frame. So don't get caught up in thinking that, oh, I'm starting late, because there's so much you can do if you just get started now, and just get started with what you have. But the key is to get started. All right, because we can easily get paralyzed and thinking that, okay, I haven't done what I needed to do, so I don't know what to do, so I'm just not going to do anything.
Yes.
So again, you have a good 20 to 25 years. And then think about this, you're going to be in retirement for another 20 to 25, maybe even 30 years, depending on the longevity in your family. Right. And so just do it. Like you say, just do it. Get started.
Yes. 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 I agree 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
that's what I would say.
All right. Thank you so much, Renee. I'm going to share your where they can contact you. And right now, the
Hmm.
best place to contact Renee is via LinkedIn.
Hmm.
However, I am going to be sharing her website, other links in the show notes and on YouTube. So you'll be able to connect her if LinkedIn is not your preferred place.
Hmm.
But here is her LinkedIn. She is Renee K. Collins on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
And you can go to linkedin.com/in/ Renee K. Collins, two L's, and connect with her there. So, Renee, thank you so much
Thank you.
for being here on the Dr. Steph Talks Money podcast and reminding us that it's never too late to take control of our money and our future. And to everyone that's listening, your next chapter can be your best chapter. And it starts with the steps you take today. And as we've said, get in touch with a financial professional.
Hmm.
Renee is here. You can work with her so that you can have a better view of your finances and just take things one step at a time. You don't have to get overwhelmed. What is the next step that you want to take? Renee can help you and guide you through that.
Absolutely.
And as we wrap up, please remember to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, leave a review and a rating. If you listen on Spotify, leave a rating. And as you are completing your ratings, remember that we absolutely love the number 5. Until then, this is Dr. Sam saying stay savvy, and we'll see you next time.